Alright, so this is Galloping Ghost Pinball over in Brookfield, Illinois. If you're unfamiliar with this location, or you didn't know that it exists, Galloping Ghost Arcade actually has a little pinball division just a couple of blocks down, where they have a bunch of really cool, rare, and sought-after pinball machines all set up for free play. Obviously, you have to pay an entry fee. I believe if you go in there for just the pinball, it's about $25. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know they do offer a bundle if you decide to do arcade and the pinball. Apart from a couple of the other videos you've probably seen on this channel, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about each game individually. I'm going to kind of let the video speak for itself, but I will point out a couple of things as the video goes on. I am not talking live here, just because I didn't really want to interrupt anybody who was playing, and I didn't really want to hear anybody listen to me talking smack about a couple of the machines on this at this location. So I decided to do this as a non-live commentary. But as you can see, right when you walk in, they got a couple of the big hitters. They've got a Twilight Zone and an Addams Family. Unfortunately, the Addams Family was not working at the time. Twilight Zone had a few problems, Flipper not working. But they do generally try to keep up with the repairs, a lot more so than they used to. I've been going to Galloping Ghost for quite a while, even before they had the pinball section. They had just a couple of machines in the back of the arcade, and they didn't really have a dedicated pinball guy. But now it seems like they have kind of a dedicated team or a couple of people working on these machines to keep them clean and working about as best as they can. Unfortunately, when it comes to pinball, you know, there's just so many moving parts, so many things. These games are getting really old that it's going to be really difficult to keep everything working 100% in a free play environment. But I feel like they're doing a relatively decent job here, all things considered. Again, you can kind of see, though, some of these machines are pretty haggard. They've been played to death, and are definitely in need of a full restore. You know, there's only so much you can do just with how these games are. Eventually, they are going to start falling apart. But as you can see, they've got a couple of really cool games that you don't see very often. And they've got this game, Viper Night Drive, and I haven't seen one of these ever, actually, other than at Galloping Ghost Arcade. If you're unfamiliar with this particular machine, it has a different ball that actually glows in ultraviolet light, and the game will kind of change depending on where you're in what mode you're in. It'll kind of go like it's nighttime, and the ball will just be glowing a specific color. It's very cool. Their Bram Stoker's Dracula, unfortunately, was not playing the greatest. There were some issues with the optos not working correctly. It's kind of hard to find a Bram Stoker's that works 100%. This game just has so many kind of experimental parts on it that, for the time at least, that it's pretty difficult to find one that works all the time. This was pretty nice. They have a Attack from Mars remake, and at least at the time of recording, which was a couple of weeks ago, they had definitely just gone through and rebuilt a bunch of flippers. The flippers on this one were so strong, it was awesome. A lot of the time when you find Chicago Gaming remakes on location, the flippers are kind of weak. I don't know what it is about Chicago Gaming flippers, but they tend to go spongy quite quickly compared to some other games. I'm not really too sure why. Right next to it, they have the sequel, Revenge from Mars. Something that was quite interesting compared to the last time that I was there. They did a lot of rearranging, and the locations of the games make a lot more sense. In the past, they kind of had random games spewed about, and machines were not really orientated very well, and it didn't look very appealing to the eye. So they've definitely fixed that. One thing to note that was a change from the last time I was there, the games, at least as of recording, were all leveled pretty well. I didn't really run into any games where the game was leaning to the left or leaning to the right. Everything felt as it should, which was very, very welcome to see. I've been there a few times, and they've just moved the games around, and it's almost impossible to play anything because the ball will go so far to the left, so far to the right. It's very difficult to play if you're used to a standard leveled machine. I'd say as of right now, things are in a very good spot. It's very nice to see. Again, you can kind of see they typically try to keep all of the eras or the system, quote-unquote, games next to each other. They've got like the WPC games next to each other, the System 11 games next to each other. I didn't want to talk about this funhouse because this funhouse has been at Galloping Ghost for years, and it is quite beat up. I actually think it may or may not have had some sort of a playfield swap at some point, but I believe what's on here is just the original playfield with factory Mylar. It's definitely due for a full swap out. You can kind of see with some of the insert wear, and a lot of that's actually through the Mylar itself. So if you're looking to play a funhouse, I wouldn't really recommend this one. There's a lot of other funhouses, especially in the Illinois, Chicago area that you could play that I think are a lot better. But if you still just want to play one, they got one here, which is very nice. All right, up next, this was really cool. They have a Monster Bash Remake Limited Edition, which is super cool to see. You don't really see these in public very often, and I'll tell you, this game just looks absolutely beautiful with the LE package. They've got a lot of really cool things. They got the mirror blades, the extra toys on the playfield, the lighting, the topper, the playfield itself. Everything just looks great, and you can see everything's nice and clean. They replaced the rubbers. They do a good job here. I love the powder coating. I love this little engraving here down by the lockdown bar. It's just such a cool touch, something that they really didn't need to do, but I still think it's really cool that they decided to do that. Up next here we have a Medieval Madness Remake Royal Edition. So this is the last super limited edition that they made before the new Merlins that are supposed to be coming out, hopefully by the end of the year. And this one plays very well. They've been doing a good job of keeping it up. Unfortunately, the drawbridge was kind of coming apart. It looked like one of the E-clips had kind of fallen out, so it was a little loose. But you could still play and destroy the castles and everything, so there really wasn't too much there to worry about. This location is split up into two rooms. You have the front room and the back room. The back room usually is where they put their newest machine. You can kind of see it there. I'll talk about that a little bit more in depth here momentarily. But in the back, they've got a haunted house. Gotta love haunted house. It's such a classic machine. Again, you really don't see these on location too often just because they're a bit of a pain to keep working, but it's just very cool. I love this little spot here. You can see where the kick out, the ball had just worn the artwork down so much that it created a line. And you have to wonder how many plays that the machine must have had in order to get to that point. So this one is really cool. This is a Spirit by Gottlieb. This one is really rare. Unfortunately, it wasn't working. They have a ton of really cool LEDs on this one. It looks very cool. But this one, there's not a lot of these out in the wild or that exist, period. It's a bit unfortunate it wasn't working because it's kind of a cool game. I think Gottlieb had some really cool ideas during this era, even though I'm not much of a Gottlieb fan. Then in the back corner here, they have the 3 Elvira games all lined up in a row, all in pretty decent condition. I'd say especially this one right here is in good shape considering its age. I think the playfields on this particular title hold up pretty well, which is quite interesting. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Unfortunately, someone was in the middle of Scared Stiff, so I couldn't get a close-up of the playfield, but a lot of stuff is missing. A lot of the toys and the little monsters on the slingshots are missing. You can see I kind of zoom in here to get a look at that. But the game plays fine. Again, if you're just looking to play the game, it plays pretty well. I'm kind of a stickler for aesthetics, but that's just me. And then the last one they have here is an Elvira House of Horrors limited edition. This was the original limited edition. And unfortunately, because of this, they don't have any Stern machines that are connected to Insider. They don't really seem to care too much about that, which is understandable. Galloping Ghost Arcade has always been more about the classics, so when they bring in new machines, they typically don't care about the whole bells and whistles when it comes to that stuff. Would be really cool to see maybe in the future, but definitely not one of their biggest priorities at the moment. I think the cabinet for this is beautiful. They have really good powder coating on it. Up next is a Munsters Premium, and all of these games, by the way, any Stern machine will be the Premium or Limited Edition. They do not ever put Pros typically on the arcade floor. This one's been beat up pretty heavily. You can see the scoop protector is completely broken off. I believe a buddy of mine played this, and he said Herman wasn't registering correctly, so it was a bit difficult to progress in modes, but still really cool to see nonetheless. And then they have a Led Zeppelin Premium with the side lighting. I don't really have a whole lot to say about this game personally. It's kind of a whatever game. Not a lot on the playfield, not a lot to do. Just kind of one of those games that not really many people remember. They've also got a couple of other games in the back here. A lot of them were not working at the moment. This one in particular was very interesting. They have a electromechanical fireball, which is super cool to see. This is actually one of the electromechanical games that I would love to own at some point. It has so many cool rules for the time, and the fact that they did all this stuff without any circuit boards is very impressive. Up next is a Bally Medusa. From my understanding, this is another pretty rare one. It's got a really cool layout for the time and some cool gimmicks that, again, you just really don't see in pinball machines today. I didn't play this one while I was there, but it's still really cool to see. Again, not one you see too often, so if you want to play one, they got one here. All right, and then the big one, Evil Dead. So they finally got the Evil Dead game in, and it is awesome. I personally think this is one of Spooky's best games. The topper is absolutely amazing in person. Honestly, the camera does not do it justice. The artwork package on it is just phenomenal. The lighting, the sounds, the atmosphere, the shots, everything about the game is just amazing. I will say, you know, it's not without its hiccups. I've still got a little bit to play and some things to find, but for a Spooky game, they've really found their sweet spot. I think this is the least clunky feeling Spooky game that they've ever put out. It's so beautiful. It just looks great. It plays great. The sounds are awesome. The callouts are funny. The gameplay is fun. The progression is great. Just everything about this machine is so good. This is going to be one of those machines that I think is going to keep rising in value over time. And it's probably going to be up there. I would hope be up there with the big ones like Twilight Zone, Medieval Madness over the course of the next couple of years. If you haven't had a chance to play one, you should definitely try to find one. It's just an awesome and unique game. To be honest, when I was playing it, it reminded me a lot of the Bally Williams machines at the time. It's just got that feel. I can't quite explain it, but it's just got that feel. It's almost like there was nothing... There were no expenses held back with this machine. It's kind of how it feels. It's just a great game. If you ever see one, definitely play one. And then we got a couple of old Williams games. Unfortunately, I'm not super familiar with these particular systems. I don't spend too much time playing these games just because I'm not a big fan of them, but I do know a lot of people have a soft spot for them. You can kind of see the playfield here was in pretty decent shape considering this game's age. I don't know if they clear-coated it or if they put some Mylar on it, but it was in really good shape. They also have a Gorgar, another classic. You got to have a Gorgar if you're going to have a classic pinball arcade. A lot of people recognize this one. Pretty simple game, but I don't mind playing this one every now and then. I'd probably never own one, but it's still a really cool game to see. And then they've got the big hitter, Black Knight. Now, this one has definitely had a playfield swap. The playfield on this game is absolutely beautiful. It's kind of amazing how faded and gross the original playfields of Black Knight have become over the years. And when you see it compared to a brand new playfield like this one, it's just night and day. Everything is so shiny. Everything is so clean. It just looks fantastic. The game played really well as well. So if you are looking for a tip-top shape Black Knight, you can play one at Galloping Ghost Pinball. Again, I know it's kind of difficult to find one in good condition nowadays. Even in a home environment, these games are just getting so old. That's just kind of how it goes. Got another Space Invaders. I've seen quite a few of these on pinball arcades or at pinball arcades. This one's been beat up a little bit, but again, you kind of have to expect that. It's still in pretty good shape, though. A lot of the artwork is still there, which, if you've seen any of these on location, you'll typically find that a lot of the artwork is just gone because this game was played so much. It was a very popular game at the time. So finding one that actually is all well put together is pretty difficult. So here's a really cool one, a Williams Defender pinball machine. My understanding is they only made about 900 or 800 of these, and there's not many of them around. Apparently, it's become a bit of a fan favorite due to the unique rule set for the time. I've never actually been able to play it because it's always broken, but it still looks pretty cool. Up next, we have a Bally Spy Hunter. I've never actually played this one, but I've heard some things about it. Some people seem to like it. Again, for the era, it's got some really unique kind of gimmicks, especially from when this game came out. It's just got a very unique play field for the time. It's quite interesting. And then last in this row, there is a Q*bert's Quest, another super rare one. Unfortunately, it wasn't working, but the game has definitely seen better days. I don't know how this happens. I personally think this was due to somebody cleaning it with the wrong product back in the day, and it just caused the paint to come up over time, but a bit unfortunate. I think I saw one for sale recently for quite a bit of money, so pretty cool to see. Another rare one, a Williams Varcon. This game is really difficult. It's kind of a mirror pinball arcade kind of clone. I'm not really sure what the goal of this was at the time of release, but you can see they kind of have a weird, control scheme with the joysticks and stuff. It might have been a way to save on space. I'm not really too sure, but you never know. I haven't done enough research on that particular machine to make a good judgment call. And then you got a couple of other random hybrids kind of back here. You can see they've got everything kind of all in a row. Unfortunately, this didn't pick up very well because it was really dark at the time, and a lot of these games were all off. And you can just, again, see they just have a whole row of arcade machine pinball hybrids. I've seen a couple of Cavemans in my time, but I've never actually played one just because it's not quite interesting. There's kind of a reason why these games are so rare. They just weren't popular. Up next is a Starship Troopers. This is another fan favorite, at least on the Sega side. It's got a lot of cool stuff on the playfield. I've never been a big fan of these kind of late Sega games, but I know there's a bit of a cult following for these particular machines, so I'm not super familiar with the rules. I just can't really get past the artwork. The artwork is a little ugly in my opinion, but that's just kind of what they were doing at the time. They were cutting corners just because pinball wasn't making as much money as they thought it was. We've got a couple more pinball machines to go over here. Always got to have a Godzilla Premium. I think every arcade I've shown on this channel has had a Godzilla Premium just because it's that influential of a game. To be quite honest, I don't think we'll ever see a pinball machine with this much influence again in the modern era. I kind of consider Godzilla to be the modern-day Addams Family. It's just a game you see everywhere. It's kind of cool. And then over here, we have a two-player Joust. Now, this is super cool. The only other place I've seen this is at the Vintage Flipper World show in Michigan. I hope to get a video of that at some point. But I didn't really spend too much time because there were some people playing it. But if you've ever wanted to play one, it's super cool. It's a two-player versus game that they didn't do so well at the time, but kind of cool to see nowadays. I'm going to kind of skip over this one, the Nightmare on Elm Street. This game is just, I'm going to, cards on the table, this is a bad game. Cool theme, but bad game. There's just no direction. The shots all feel clunky. I'm not really sure what was going on in the factory when this came out, because it's unfortunate. There's a lot of cool toys on the playfield. Like, it has so much potential, but I feel like it's just wasted with really poor shots. You got to see the wear down here. It looks like flippers were not installed correctly at one point. That's usually a telltale sign on these older Gottlieb games that at some point the flippers were not orientated correctly. Got another creature creature from the Black Lagoon? Of the Black Lagoon. Lagoon? Yeah. This one has been at the arcade for a long time. They've done a good job of keeping it clean and playing well. I'm just so bad at this game. I can never sit and play for more than just at least a couple of games. I wish I was better at it because it is a fun game. It's got a lot of really cool call-outs and shots, but never been the greatest. Up next, we have a Sega Godzilla. So you got to have Godzilla and Godzilla next to each other. I haven't played this one too much, but I've heard it's pretty decent. It's kind of unique. I actually forget that this one came out. It's kind of one of those games that gets forgotten about against all the big hitters from this particular era, but still pretty cool to see nonetheless. And over here, we have an alien, but this is the Highway Pinball Alien. If you don't know anything about Alien, it was originally created by Highway Pinball, and when they were doing the production of Alien, they went under and were unable to fulfill the original orders for Alien. So this is actually one of the original ones. If you've played an Alien, you've most likely played the remake done by Pinball Brothers, but this is an original. So if you ever wanted to play an original, you can do so here. Unfortunately, it wasn't working today. And then finally, the most infamous pinball machine at the location, Predator by Skit B Pinball. This is another one of those stories where they took a bunch of orders, they said they were going to put something out, and they never ended up doing it. Turns out they did not have the license for it. There's apparently a whole story behind this, but the TLDR, they took a bunch of people's money, didn't know what they were doing, didn't have anything ready, and just kind of ran. It's actually kind of good that this never came out, because this would have been a waste of the Predator license. There is just nothing on this playfield. I've played it a few times when it's working, and it is nothing special. It kind of reminds me a lot of a System 11 game, but with no code. It's very unique. It's kind of I believe this is a one-of-one machine. There is no other prototype in existence. So if you've ever wanted to play one, and you've ever wanted to play the infamous game by Skit B Pinball, you can do so here. Unfortunately, like I said, it's not working, but I believe they were working on taking care of it. So by the time you show up, it might be there. You can also see the little Predator spine skull things are missing. I don't know if they've been stolen or they removed them, but they did have them on there at one point. And then back here we have a bunch of Pinbot games all in a row. We've got the original Pinbot machine just kind of sitting in the back corner here. Game was in relatively good condition, which is very nice to see. Usually these inserts are kind of beat up and everything's all over the place. But the playfield was very nice considering its age. I do not believe it was a swap, but very good example. Got a Machine Bride of Pinbot that's definitely had some work done to it. A lot of chrome done. I believe the playfield may have been swapped out at one point. A lot of plastics changed and cleaned. It's just a very good looking game for the time that it came out. Remember, this was pre-diamond plate, so there was no clear coat on the playfield. It was basically just bare wood, paint, and Mylar. So after a while, the ball would just kind of eat away at the artwork. And then finally, you have Jackbot, all three Pinbot games in a row. This is a really fun game. Kind of underrated in my opinion. I really do like this game when it wants to allow you to play, but it can be pretty brutal at times, and that can probably cause some frustration. And then finally, there is a Bally Rapid Fire. It's probably over here because they didn't really know where to put it. This isn't really a pinball machine, but it's kind of a fun game where you just shoot a bunch of marbles all out and you try to knock down a bunch of targets. It's a pretty neat game. Nothing to really say here, but it's kind of a cool, fun, quick gimmick game. But yeah, that is basically it. That is Galloping Ghost Pinball. If you're ever in the area, definitely check it out. It's a very, very cool arcade. They've got a lot of rare stuff that you don't see too often. And you could definitely have the chance to play some of the most rare pinball machines in existence. I definitely want to say that they've been doing a lot better job keeping up with the maintenance as they've compared to the past. They've done a lot better job of catering to maybe a bit more of a hardcore pinball audience as well as a casual audience, and they're still trying to get new machines whenever they can. Unfortunately, though, pinball machines are expensive, so they don't get them too often, but they try.